Hello everyone, my name's China the Ghoul, and since Mandalorian and Grogu is now out in theaters, I thought this would be a better time than ever to make a public domain alternatives list showing off the public domain alternatives you could use for Star Wars, in case you want to use Star Wars for your projects, but are afraid of getting sued by Disney. First off, we got Barsoom, or also known as A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs, which only the 1917 to 1931 books are public domain in the United States. So anything afterwards, that's not up for grabs. But anything from 1917 to 1931, that is up for grabs. And I believe that this series right here is the one that inspired a lot of the world building and lore for Star Wars. And then we have Little Fuzzy, which, look at these guys. They're literally Ewoks. Like, the story is basically just the Ewoks part of Star Wars. But believe it or not, these guys actually came out before Star Wars. Little Fuzzy is from the 60s. But anyway, you could use Little Fuzzy as well as the aliens that inhabit the planet of Little Fuzzies. And believe it or not, next we have Turkish Star Wars. The stuff that is originally filmed is public domain, but the stock footage from Star Wars itself is not. So you can't use anything from actual Star Wars that's in this movie, but the originally filmed parts you can use. And then next we have Star Odyssey, which is more or less a Star Wars knockoff, but it says it's public domain. So if you want to use this for your Star Wars projects, then, by all means, go ahead. And then next we have That's right, we got Flash Gordon, but only the magazine version, as well as the movie versions like this one, and this one right here as well. And no other versions of Flash Gordon. And the thing is, you can't even call him Flash Gordon, so Flash Gordon and all the other characters, you can't really call them the names that they're called in the movies or the magazine. But, you could still have a Flash Gordon story, you just gotta give them different names is all. However, most of Buck Rogers' early comic runs are public domain, so if you're bummed out about not being able to use Flash Gordon as much, you still got Buck Rogers, and he kind of paved way for science fiction, space fantasy as we know it now. And next we have Captain Science, who's basically your generic everyday sci-fi action hero, but it's still a good building block for if you want to build a Star Wars-like story. And then we have the absolute GOAT here, Space Hawk. This guy is just a super badass, he gives off Doom guy energies from the first Doom games, he gives off that lone badass space hero energy, and I feel that would be perfect for if you want to make a Star Wars like story. And then we got Space War, and to be honest, I kind of chose this one just because it has the word war in it, and that's pretty close to Star Wars you can get. And then you got the pulp series Lensman. You can use the Lensman as a Jedi if you wanted to. And then a large portion of Astounding Stories science fiction magazines are public domain, as well as Amazing and Amazing Story magazines, and even the science fiction magazines. Then we got Legacy by James H. Schmidt, which just gives off mad Star Wars vibes. And then if you need a hostile, deadly planet, then Death World is your best bet. You also got the Skylark of Space, which seems to also be inspiration for Star Wars. And then if you want to change the setting of your Star Wars story to differentiate a little bit, so instead of following the story of Knights of Yore and Spaghetti Western, you could do a pirate-like thing, like with this one here, Pirates of Ersatz. Then for some unique planets and some backdrops, you have the Islands of Space. If you want some cool ideas for spaceships and spacecraft, you got the Space Hounds of IBC. If you want some cool ideas for armor and weapons and such, you've got the Badge of Infamy. If you need more spacecraft or planet concepts, you got Planet of the Damned. And then if you need a story with intergalactic dogfights, you have Space Adventures. And then an idea for laser swords, you got the Dueling Machine, which although a little bit of a different story, you could still use it either way. If you want inspiration for outfit design, you could use Crash of the Moons for inspiration. Voyage to the Prehistoric Planet could be used if you want to add some interesting alien designs and such, since George Lucas would borrow inspiration for his alien designs from dinosaurs and prehistoric beasts. And then for the like armor and spacesuits, you could use the designs from Radar Man from the Moon. And then if you need more ideas for alien designs or planet ideas, you could use the creatures and the planets from Lovecraft mythos all the way up to 1931. For even more weapons and armor ideas, you could borrow from Space Busters. Similar to Edgar Rice Burroughs' Princess of Mars, there's also Gulliver of Mars. And then for even more creature designs, you got the Planet of Peril. And then you could use Arthurian legend and put that into space! Oh yeah, and then there's also Mars Attacks. You can use the Mars Attacks Martians as well as the stories that are on the cards, but only the 1962 versions. Remember that, from last video. And there we have it. Public domain alternatives you can use for Star Wars. Is there anything else you wanted me to add? Or was there anything else that interests you that you want me to go further into? I'll be happy to do it in the next video or so. But with that being said, I'm Tanya the Ghoul. Please like and subscribe and go follow my Ko-fi page. And I'll see you all next time.
Now I'm able to lay my cable